Dumela, Salvona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubraota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenos, I can still say buenos dias, bonjour, good day, because it's not nighttime yet. Welcome to another episode of The Digital Couch. My name is Doriel Inez Larrier of Larrier's Education and Resource Network, where I plant seeds to help you grow. Today is a special edition of The Digital Couch. I could not wait another week before having this conversation. Please welcome to The Digital Couch my sister friend, a business bestie, and like my cousin in my head, Khadijah Tudor.
Hey, we're definitely cousins. We're definitely cousins.
We did the bloodline. Look at the chin. If y'all don't see it, you need to look again. Okay?
Hey, girl.
Hey, sweetie. Now, of course, this conversation is so long overdue, right? So long overdue officially. Now, first thing I have to say is those people who know Khadijah, please give her a shout out. You can always drop a hey, in the comments, and I'll make sure that we share them. The other thing is, of course, so sharing is caring, so invite people. Another thing I need for you to do is I need my stream team. My stream team, you know who you are. I need you to take notes because we're going to be dropping some gems because the spirit's going to be flowing all up in this place, okay?
Let me get my notepad so I can write stuff down too.
Well, you gonna be watching the replay, okay? But the last thing is, please bring your mug. Now, I have to say, usually on the digital couch, I have my digital couch mug, which looks like this, right? Digital couch. But today, for the first time, y'all gonna see the other mug because it's Khadijah. It says Claw Squad on one side. Those of you who don't know, but you ready? Drum roll, please. Let's read this together. With every single thing that you nibble and sip, be intentional. Pay attention to the impact and live accordingly. Be in tune with your body. She makes sure you do that. Invest in the best and leave the rest alone. Interact with your food because your food interacts with you. That's what I talk about. And inspire somebody else to do the same.
Yeah, Shay.
Asheo.
Shay.
So we had to have a little sipping tea. Okay. Now the preliminaries are over. That's right. We also had to, even though it's not lit, we had to have the candle because this is about rituals, right? Trying to get yourself better.
What's that? The company? What's that candle?
I don't know.
Okay. Holiday Home. Okay.
It's like fur.
A good candle.
We had to have some sage. If y'all know, y'all know. Okay. Now we got that all out the way. So, Khadijah, when did you meet me? And then we'll get into this conversation. This is funny. Real funny.
When I met you, I think it was in the park. I was running in the park with Ade in Prospect Park. Well, I wasn't really running. You were running. I was panting and praying for life behind you. But I was like, oh, look how graceful that lady's running. You had a little skirt. I was like, oh, I want one of those. How do you run in a skirt? This is so dope. And then I think I met you after that at Naima and Luanika's house. And I was like, oh, there's that lady again. Yeah, for the, I think, what was it? Right, and this time I reaction between the family and your children and then my children. This is great.
That's so funny because the person that you just mentioned just showed up watching live. Yo, sis, how you doing? Beautiful, beautiful. So Khadijah and I have actually had a very long relationship. Again, sort of, like far, kind of looking at each other far away, and then we become really, really close over the past couple of years, and our relationship has just grown as like sisters and play cousins and probably real cousins. But we definitely have an amazing synergy. And so, one of the on the digital couch again, I always want to make sure I have people who are inspirational, who are influential, who teach people how to live better, whether it's in with just regular knowledge, if it has to do with social justice, critical conversations. They're all critical conversations. And over the past couple of weeks and months, yes, flowing through the past 2 years, that's all I'm going to say. The world has been just hit with another level of, ooh, I got to pay attention to some other things. So the
Right.
conversation I wanted to have with Khadijah this afternoon has to do with your wellness team. Your wellness team. Now, first of all, if you don't know, Khadijah is the shepreneur, the guru of Life Wellness BK. Put the BK on it, or else you're gonna wind up somewhere in Thailand.
I
Okay.
mean,
Now we can go to Thailand, but we ain't there today.
this
We
is
in
true.
Brooklyn.
So put the BK on it.
Put the BK on it. But she started an amazing, amazing home, a place of solace for people who are in the bed-stuy, doing die, but we not dying, we flying.
Yeah,
Someone write that
definitely.
down.
Put on a
Someone
t-shirt.
write. Okay, you can have that one. You can have that one. But she's definitely curated an amazing space. And actually, I want you to give a moment of that history, that story, and then let's talk about why a person or people should consider adding to that wellness team and what that means for you.
Whew. Okay, big questions. First, thank you so much for inviting me to this beautiful experience. We've been trying to get this done for quite some time. It's me, it's not you.
Let me take out the planner from like 3 years ago where I wrote it down. Khadijah.
I was coming. There's just a lot going on. And in that a lot going on, in the last 6 years, Ade and I, my partner, my life partner, my husband, we opened up the Life Wellness Center in Bed-Stuy on Tompkins Avenue, and it has flourished and grown because of an intense commitment to community, to wellness, to family, to love, and to the amount of support that people really show to us and trusting us to be able to create space for them to feel inspired to be healthy, and that's really what this is about. It's about inspiration. It's like nothing that we do can make someone do anything unless they're inspired to take care of themselves. So we try to live by that example. One of the things, like, where did it start? I mentioned Naima's house, the village house, in Flatbush. What is Flatbush called again now? Prospect Lefferts Garden, right? And I mean, it is. That's what they call
Flatbush.
it. That's what they said. Right. But Flatbush,
As my mother would say, who is
like,
they? Who
they.
they?
So Flatbush, right, where I grew up, and experienced all types of joy and learning experiences by being part of community. And so knowing Naima and the village house and Luanika, her husband, going into that home, it felt like an oasis in Flatbush. It was the scents, it was the incense, it was the I think at one time I saw her put essential oils. She was mopping the floor and she put essential oils in the water. And I was like, you could do that? Right? It's like just and it's that process of being able to look over to a sister or a brother and watching their example and then being inspired by those things to create calm in your life, to create wellness in your life, and surround yourself with a team that helps support you. And so to go back to the original question, what is this wellness team? What is this for me, particularly, like as an individual? Before I even look at what community needs, I look at what I need. And in order to get me through my life in a very balanced state, there's about 30 different people, professionals that's involved. And it runs the gamut from physical, mental, spiritual, financial health, that it always seems to have some kind of attention being placed on it by people who are sometimes more experienced than I am, or can guide me a little bit more than I can guide myself, because they're like, hey, your skin looking a little dry. That's my mother. My mother's very much like, your skin dry. You didn't drink water. What's going on? Right?
Drink water and mind your business.
Exactly. She's the queen of that, right? So she pulls, like, just having a parent is a blessing now, but having people who love up on you enough to say, hey, you need to do something, that you're coming off of the center of where you're trying to be. I think that is the full portion of that, is that you can't walk through this world by yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yay. And when you open the spot, when you open the oasis, I had the pleasure of being asked, would you come and sit on one of the shelves?
Well, not you particularly, but your product.
No,
Right?
well, right, not me, not me. I can't do that all day.
I mean, the
But
first day when we opened up, right? Like, the my idea was to call upon my community and say, we have this space, and we're offering massage and acupuncture. And I also have a vision of people being able to go home feeling as great as they did. They could extend that experience in their home. And so, body care, how you moisturize your body, how you touch your body, how you massage your body, is very important in the connectivity that happens when you need to be well. And we wanted products that honored that. We wanted products that thought about not just throwing any old thing in a bottle and slapping a label on it and going, it's shea butter. I wanted to engage with entrepreneurs who are passionate about what it is that they are offering into the world, what they're birthing into the world. So they can say things like, I was on the shelf, because they were that involved in the creative process and the ultimate um, outcome of it. It wasn't just about getting $5 or $10 or $15 for the product. It was like, really, hey, I'm sharing this experience. And so I was really happy to have you and the so many brown and black folk that we're able to put into a position that allowed them to rise even to another level, and to even exceed past any of the things like that. To me, that is what, life wellness is about. It's about being foundation and helping us all to grow.
so I have to, I know I've said this to you before, but I want to say it publicly in front of the thousands and thousands of people who are going to see this broadcast.
They coming.
Being, but being asked to quote unquote be on the shelf, I remember saying, me?
Yeah.
Really?
Hmm.
And you were like, of course. And I have the picture of bringing the products to the store. There was nothing on the shelf at that point. We walked into the store. I laid them all on the. I think it has to be on my Seeds of Imani Instagram page. We have all the products, and I was like, look,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And I would go back and visit.
You would.
I would,
And
I
take
would,
pictures.
I would go back and visit this shop. And I live in Flatbush. This is in Bed-Stuy. Those of you who know, between where I live and where this is like a good 20-minute drive. I would go to the store and just be like, it's still up there. They're on the shelf. Wait a minute. Some of them are gone. They were bought. Oh my
What?
God. I would take pictures. I would be like, this is how much is left. Come get them. But
Mhm.
it was so honoring to have a sister who has risen to the level that you've risen to, and then to say, yo, I can't be here unless you're here with me. I can't be here unless these other sisters and brothers who have these amazing things that have been birthed out of their soul.
Mhm.
And I want you to either start here, or I want you to come through here as you're going on the come up train. I want you to say you had some space and some time in this place. To this day, to this day, I tell people, I was there. I was there. I was
That's
there.
right. I was through those parts.
I, well, I still got the picture. Look, the walls may have changed, the shelves may have changed, but that spot right there, that little mark right there, that was my. So,
And now look at you. Now look at you.
listen, I'm I'm still growing and learning,
Right?
and I'm
Right.
and I'm
That's
glad to have you by my side. Glad to have you by my side. So, Khadijah and I have worked on a number of projects together, and we're still working on projects together. And it's around wellness. And although we met in the park, what it must have been 15, maybe like 15 years ago.
yeah, the
Uh,
sage baby. He's 16 now.
there we go. So about 15 years ago. Ooh, my body was a lot different then. But anyway, the great part the great part of it is we've grown synergistically. There are moments that we won't, let's say, quote unquote, speak for months at a time, but then as soon as I pass through or we show up in certain places, it's like, hey, like I know I just spoke to you last week, and we just pick up where we left off, and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've grown in the same on this in the same lane is discussing what wellness looks like. And the question specifically is, and I say this on my own channel, not just the Digital Couch, but with Seeds of Imani and the Claw Squad. We are raised, let's say this our generation, we're at the tail end of your doctors or the people that will help you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily is your PCP,
Right.
your dentist, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're a woman, your
Get you.
OBGYN.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
That's the first level. Depending on what subculture you are a part of, you will add, not necessarily before or after, but somewhere in there, your spiritual counselor, your pastor, your preacher, your minister. But when I did research, I found out that the body has 12 different systems.
Talk about it.
And 2 years ago, I said, oh, wait a minute. If there's 12 different systems, shouldn't we,
Why?
should, isn't, do we, shouldn't we have a person to address all?
Yeah. What's going on? How come?
Who are they? Where they at? What they name? And how can I get in touch with them?
And that's the gateway question. That's the
Right,
gateway question. Yeah.
right. So what I am growing, and this is where Khadijah and I sort of like we put our heads together in a couple of different projects, is to just inform people. Now, of course, disclaimer: I am Doriel Inez Larrier. I have a BS, an MS, and an MED behind my name. That's it. But I can read. I can read, and I know that if my heart is not working right, physically or literally, I go to my PCP that then sends me to a cardiologist. But there
So,
has to be something that I do that I can do before I have to go see that person
mm-hmm.
to help my own self.
Mm-hmm.
So, question: who else should be a part of our wellness team?
Um, it depends on how open you want to be, right?
Right.
And so I said that's the gateway question because you first have to know that you need something for you to seek that something, right? And so most of us are not seeing our primary care doctor often. Most times people go see their doctor when something is amiss, a pain didn't go away, fast enough, or there's vision issues, or you broke a tooth, like maybe you go to the dentist. But for the most part, people aren't necessarily putting high on their schedule of things to do their medical care. It's just not, it's not a priority unless it's your child. And if it's a woman in childbearing age, there could be pregnancies, there could be regular GYN care because you're trying to get pregnant. But for the most part, I find that there's a generation of people who don't necessarily think that it's important to go to the doctor until maybe they get older, or maybe something happens, God forbid, right? And then they say, okay, I should go check. And so we miss a lot of things, right? We miss out on knowing basic information, blood pressure, average weight, what you may be allergic to. Those are really informative things. On top of missing out on that information, we also miss out on different aspects of our experience that doesn't necessarily, and in our experience, I mean how we're living, doesn't necessarily stand out very like blatantly unless something is going wrong. So let's say that you went through like a major breakup, as we all do. You're in a relationship, I love you forever, and then you realize forever is not forever, your heart is broken, and you got to survive from that. Right? And in that survival process, you start thinking, I don't want to survive. I want to be better than just taking small breaths. And you start thinking about who you are. Why do you make the kind of decisions that you make? Where are you when you feel the most happiest? Where do you feel when you're the most sad? Where do you feel when you're the most disconnected? And then you start hearing things like chakras, and you start hearing things like meridians, and you start hearing things like Reiki and yoga. And it's like, okay, what's that? Right? It's like it's a thing that unless you grew up in a circle of conversations or those words, it just seems foreign and almost religious, so to speak. And so when we start bringing those things in, we go, okay, well, we're not going to mess with those ideas, those big questions, those different energy points in our body. We're just going to ignore that. So now, on top of not necessarily going to the doctor, the regular doctor, you're right, the Western doctor, to just get checkups and know, we're also stepping away from any other things that doesn't sound familiar. And so we're kind of floating through not doing. And so for me, how I moved from that space was my father used to practice yoga like all the time. And it just was daddy standing on his head. Literally, he'd be on his head, standing on his head all the time, right? So that was pretty normal to us, right? Or he would do breathing exercises, but he never said breathing exercises like it was like some just take a deep inhalation. It was always like, I'm gonna do these breathing exercises because y'all blasted children are really getting on my nerves, right? It was
Move.
his right. It was his version of being able to cope with all the things that was happening in his life and working within a society where Black men were really under a lot, Black men and Black women, but Black men within the electrical trade, those unions were, it
Mm.
was a safe, emotional, spiritual space. So he would come home, he would burn a spliff. He would, he would burn a spliff. That's what he would do. And then he would stretch and do not sage. And then he would stretch and he would do headstands and he would do breathing exercises and he would play music and the lights would be dimmed. And we had a bunch of crystals in the house. We just thought it was, we called the daddy's funny rocks. We didn't know, right? And it was always plants in the house and the house would be clean. And, it was those things that kept him feeling like I could in this world. And that is a wellness ritual, right? Creating
Okay.
space for yourself. Mm-hmm.
So hold on a second. So now actually you have me going back and thinking,
Right, right.
what did my dad do? My dad was, he worked as a traffic device maintainer. So he worked on the highways 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He was on the highways. And I recall, and for those of you who are watching, you can drop in the comments or on the replay or live here, what are routines or rituals that you remember from your parents? I remember my dad coming in like clockwork, 5:30, 5:30, coming in, taking off the outer, soiled garments
Yep.
from being on the highways.
They're close.
And right, the work clothes. You don't come in the house with the work, you don't sit around the house in the work clothes. But where my apartment, we actually had 2 bathrooms. So my father had his own bathroom, and the lady, I know, we moved on up, sweetheart. Anyway, so my dad had his own bathroom, and my mother and I had like the bigger one. But he would literally go into the bathroom, and he would just be in there for a while. And my mother and I would always be like,
What is he doing?
but
Mm-hmm.
what we learned over time is that was literally and figuratively, like that was his sanctuary. and it's so tiny. And so you can literally, but we what we realized over time is that he would literally go in there and he would stand and just like look in the mirror. And the only way
Hmm.
we found when we found that out was because when my sons came up, they would be like, "Grandpa, what you doing?" So then he would leave the door open, but we would just see him standing there like,
He was doing mirror work.
"Mm."
Listen,
He needed a moment to switch gears. I heard of another
listen.
sister friend, right, who would say her mother would come home from like working, doing domestic work. She would come
Mhm.
in, she would greet the children, but she would go straight to her room
Right.
and she would, again, change the clothes and she would lay down for
Yep.
like 20 minutes.
In her
And
sanctuary.
then, and then
And
when she came out, she would be like, okay, let's get dinner
yeah.
going.
Hmm.
Me, I sit in my car.
Listen,
I sit in my car. I'm just like, I'm turning the car off.
I used to when I worked in the city, I would stop at Bryant Park before I came, whether it was cold or it was hot. I would stop in Bryant Park and just take a moment to just gather myself, then get on the train, then go home to be able to just go, okay, let me not even take this with me. Whatever all of this was, let me shift gears. It's it's a thing, right? So when we start thinking about what our wellness practices are, who we surround ourselves with, it's the energetic exchange that you have with people, making really genuine choices about who you spend time with and adjusting.
And what do I do sometimes, Khadijah?
What do you do?
I drive all the way out. I work in one borough. I drive the other direction and go right to Khadijah's spot. And I'm just like, well, like my nose pressed up against it. Is she there?
Yeah,
Is she there?
yeah. And then, but
Because
here's the
I
thing
need
now, right? So what
I
I learned, right? So you do that, right? And then let's multiply that by 200 people a week who do exactly what you do. Like, is Khadijah here? Is she here? Is she here? Right? And that could be draining. That could be as a well practice. No, no, it's no, sorry. It's the reality is for us to be aware of what we need to do to make sure that we're okay. I want people to come to Life Wellness. I want you to drive from whatever side of town you are to, but also to understand that this is created for you, that it's not just in of itself me or our day. There's a team of practitioners, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, Reiki, who we have connections with, like therapists, mental health, that we have connections with, that the things that you think you're coming to see me about, like, oh, I need to talk to Khadijah, I need to be around Khadijah. It's not that. It's that there's this space that was created for you that gives you a moment to feel safe. And so to be able to have access so you can create your own wellness team, your own wellness rituals. That's why we have the candles. That's why we have the floor washes. Why there's plants. That's why there's flowers. For you to be able to go home and create a space for yourself that you feel safe in. That's the first part. Before we could even get to if we need a Reiki practitioner or if we need a yoga practitioner, are you feeling safe and balanced in your own home, right? If we can create that, then when you come into Life Wellness or you find me, we're mirroring so much good energy that it's not like just take. It's like it's a give because we're doing the work to create hope in ourselves.
I love that, and actually, we have some people who are commenting, and so a brother who is an amazing practitioner, who's an LCSW and has a counseling practice, brother Atiba, I love you dearly. He goes, great conversation. He goes, my folks would jog, so I'm
Yeah,
presuming that that's the
yeah.
just whether it's walking or speed walking or strolling in the park or
Oh,
doing
we
like
go
a
to
full
Park,
out
right? Because we live in Brooklyn.
run.
My dad would go like Sunday mornings. He called the survival run. He was like, "Come on, girls, it was me and my sister," and we would go into Prospect Park and just walk through like all the hills and just that was his meditation. I didn't know that's what he was doing. He would ride his bike. He would ride to Bear Mountain and ride back, with a crew of guys. Oh yeah, they were like long distance riders, right? But think about the physical activity and the ability to be outside. doesn't cost anything, but what you get from that is amazing. What you get from that is the ability to release. That's amazing.
Right. So I want to switch gears, not really switch gears, but switch perspectives. So
Mhm.
I've grown up in Black Baptist Church, and our time of release, our time of um, processing, our time of healing is designed intentionally
Mhm.
within the walls of the church. And
Right.
so we are trained, we're brought up, we're conditioned that, that sacred time is within the church or
And it's
within
safe.
the church walls. Right.
Mhm.
Let me be specific, within the church walls. And so, of course, during the past year plus, we've been worshiping at home.
Yeah.
And for a number of my minister friends, the conversation is, oh my goodness, like people aren't going to, let's say, be churched if they are not in the church or within the walls. Now, there are some ministries that, even prior to Rona, and let me say, shout out to this woman right here, who, when I was afflicted very early in the process, when nobody knew what the heck was going on, she made her
Mhm.
way from Bed-Stuy. I don't even remember how you got here because I was laid out on the floor in my house, and brought sea moss and grapefruits and all this kind of stuff and teas for me to take. And she didn't have to do that. She
Yes,
could
I
have
did.
called me like, well, I thank you. I thank you a
I
thousand times. I
I
thank you.
also you're absolutely welcome. But I lead by I lead by example because someone else leads by example for me, right? And so what I did for you was done for our day. So Baba Umpo, who owns Cosmic Enterprise with his wife Mama Naya, he was making Makosa tea and bitters and like all the things that I put together for you, the cell cleanser, all like this is how I made the tea for you. It has like everything in it, everything, right? And brought it over because when Ade was ill, he had the virus quite early in the uptake of it. And here's this man that I love who is laying in the bed, who is not a lay in the bed kind of person. He's not getting up, right? And first person I called was Baba. And I was like, listen, he's like, I'll be right there. So in the midst of all of this, he's walking into homes and bringing and massaging and coconut water and electrolytes and so forth and praying and saying like we're not growing fear. Let's grow food. Let's grow care. And so when you called and said, in fact, I don't even know if you called. I think I called you. I was calling and checking in on a few people going, why am I hearing from you? And you
Yeah.
said you were like, it wasn't even a question. Do you go over? It was like, I'm trying to get it all together so I could drop it to you and drop it to this person and drop it to this person because it helped that day. Right. And that's wellness. Like you create this community that if you raise your hand, but that's another conversation. If you need help, that's another conversation. You know,
Right. Right.
people will come.
Right. So and I consider you, going back to the central question, I consider you as a part of the wellness team.
Hmm.
So one thing about considering your wellness team, and back to this just this one statement about the church and how uh so again, before Rona, we had a couple of ministries that was under the guise of the church without walls.
Okay.
And I just loved that term, the church without walls, that, there are people out on the street who need healing. There are
Mhm.
people out on the street who need a hug. There are people out on the, in highways and byways, who are in their beds, who are sitting on the trains or whatever, who need wellness, who need their spirit to be lifted.
Right.
And this whole situation that shut us all down for a few months, um, taught us that you can still reach people, but that a part of your wellness team has to expand. So, those people who
Yes.
are holistic practitioners,
Mhm.
as they shifted and as they moved strategically, they were able to show up when people were shut out of hospitals. There
Mm-hmm.
were people like myself who I wanted to go, but they said, you're not sick enough, according to what you say, and so stay your butt home. And so I was like, well, how am I supposed to do this? And they said, drink water. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
it. And so that's when I said, oh my gosh. So I reached out to people who, when I could get on the phone, or if my sons could call for me because I couldn't speak for a bit, and they were like, mommy's feeling like this, and people showed up. And so I am ever so thankful to my community for being a part of my wellness team. And that's what, over the past couple of years, I've been thinking. It's not just the PCP, it's not just the OBGYN, it's not just
Right.
the dentist. There are other people, and I've been doing what I can to bring some of these other people to the couch per se, or just introduce the words and the terms and the names of these practitioners, so that people would say they can help as well.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
can help as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you definitely, just to mention, for you to mention some of this, and I don't know if you see it, but I put down at the bottom, like, who do you know, what do you do as a ritual practice to shift gears? And I'm going to put up the other one, put that back up. So you talked about chakras and yoga and meridians and Reiki, acupuncture. So who are the other wellness practitioners that you work with, that we should consider, that we should look at to help those 12 systems of our body? Like, who are these other people that we don't necessarily know about that now we can get connected to with our insurance plans? Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. But before we do that, like I always love to give people very simple tools, right? And so the first person that I go to is me. Like I have all the information. I know exactly what's happening with my body. I am privy to every feeling, every experience that's happening. If it's not feeling the way it's supposed to feel, I know. Now, if I'm paying attention is the next question. And so I always ask people to, well, how long have you been feeling this pain? Whatever the pain is, whatever the disruption is. And it's like, oh, not long. It's never long, right? And I was like, okay, well, when was it? Well, it was, and as they start thinking, it's like 2 years. It's like 3 years of back pain, 3 years of, you know, upper neck and shoulder tightness, knee issues, ankles, sciatic pain. Those physical things, we have learned very well how to function with pain. And I'm not gonna wear this bag. I'll wear this bag. I won't wear heels. I'll wear sneakers. Shouldn't wear really heels anyway. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you'll do all these different things to make sure that you can live with the pain instead of examining the pain, where it's
Right.
coming from, and then you can make a decision as to what you might need. And so before we think of any of those other things, knowing your body, knowing what your breath is supposed to smell like, knowing how many bowel movements you should have a day, knowing as a woman what your vaginal secretion is supposed to look, smell, and feel like throughout the cycle of the month,
And
right?
we're not taught that. We just talked by our mothers. Thank you, mothers and grandmothers and aunties. But we have to actually give young girls a little more information than
A lot more information, but the information, what I want to say now
just go
is
clean
out
up.
there, right? There's another generation of young women who are very in tune with what's happening with their body. They're in tune with not just what the illness of the body looks like, but what it's supposed to look like when it's healthy. And
Hmm.
watching the young men who are coming up also with this amount of information that we have, that we can now go, well, this is what my body is feeling like. Let me go look this up. Let me go see, let me read about this. Let me get the Google situation up and YouTube situation up and get some
YouTube
questions, right?
University.
Which then leads you into a world of a vast amount of shamans, a vast amount of empress and priestess and people who are out to do really, really good for you. And then there's also people who are just out for a buck. They're out for some just nothing that is really going to benefit you, but they want to get something out of it. And so when you walk into this world and you start saying, hey, I need a good doctor, I need a good doctor who's going to, you know, it's a podiatrist and he's going to look at my foot. You're going to Google if this doctor is good and figure out what their studying practices, and you're going to go and talk to them. You're not just going to just show up with your foot and say, hey, take care of my foot, right? You need that good doctor. So if you're looking for an acupuncturist, you're looking for a massage therapist, you're looking for a Reiki practitioner or a chiropractor or any alternative medicine that people want to call alternative, you still have to use that level of discernment that only your head, only your Ori is going to tell you, I should listen, I should not listen. And so the big part is don't give up your power. And whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever information that you may need, whatever wellness team that you're putting together, you are the first and foremost person who knows what you're supposed to feel like. You know what the connection you have with your body is. And if you don't, then that is the invitation for you to really introduce yourself to you, which means slowing down.
Oh, I love that. Introduce
Really,
yourself to you. I love that.
right? So you have to slow yourself down to even notice if you're not breathing or how you're breathing, to even notice what makes you upset to a point where you're like, you know what, I ain't got time for this. And when I don't have time for this, I go and I reach for what to put into my mouth. What makes me feel good when I'm frustrated? What do I eat? What do I drink? What do I do? Who do I have sex with? It's like those are all big components of what makes us well. And we can't just look at it from the perspective of my shoulder hurt. Well, why does your shoulder hurt? When does it hurt? Is it as soon as you get behind your desk or behind the computer to go to work? Because it was fine just now when you were, chilling and doing whatever. But as soon as you're like, oh man, I got to sign in, right? We got to look at that and not just the musculoskeletal problems, but the emotional, right? What's triggering that? And so those are conversations you have way before you start looking for a practitioner with yourself.
Right. And
Yeah.
to that end, I'm becoming more conscious to say that to my sons,
Mhm. Oh my, oh yeah.
to say so that they know what's the phrase, homeostasis, right? So that they know what like zero is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by zero, like zero as in this is what
It's not
you're
tilting this way. It's not tilting this way. It's
right,
about
right,
you.
right, right.
Yeah.
Right. So when someone says, well, when did your foot hurt? Oh, well, it's been hurting for a while. Okay, then that's like in the negative. Or
Mm-hmm.
it always feels really great and that's in the positive, but what does it feel like at that moment? And so I think, and I'll just say because I took dance, but I don't know how many other practices there are where a child is brought through a state of, let's say, if it's in gym, let's just say it's in gym or physical education, where they
Mm-hmm.
get that moment to, let's say, as I did in dance, like lay on the floor and just feel yourself breathing.
Right.
Just feel all of the points that you can feel on the floor. Like feel your lower back on the floor, feel the back of your thighs on the floor. If you're not taught that, then you're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to, what am
And
I
also,
supposed to feel? Just
also
being present.
if you're not taught it and you're not aware of it, then when you do encounter the need for it, it creates so much anxiousness.
Right.
It's like you're walking into a different terrain that whether your hair is done, like your hair could be amazing. You could have had a press out, you could perm it, you could make it natural, you could shave it off and designs, whatever. But if you're dealing with headaches, it doesn't matter what your hair looks like, right? At all. If you have abs and it's tight and it's everything and all that is whatever, right? It doesn't matter if you're dealing with IBS
Yep.
and you're
Yeah.
in pain and you
Woo!
have major digestive issues, right? It doesn't matter
Talk
what
about
you
it.
put on, what kind of clothing, the name brand, whatever. If you are dealing with eczema, you still uncomfortable. It don't matter what you wore, right?
Right.
And so I'm using those as examples as it's from within, then without, right? And so when you're in alignment with not knowing, okay, this is why this is happening, but to know something's wrong, that's the joint. Because now you could go, okay, something's wrong. That's the gateway to open up to go, let me go ask and find out what I can do to make it feel right. Because I feel like I shouldn't be feeling this unhappy when I sit in front of my laptop. And I don't know why when I turn on and I say, good morning, hi, this is Khadijah, I'm signing in for work,
Mm-hmm.
that I feel explosive. So
Yeah.
maybe I need something to explore what's happening in my mental. What's triggering this pain that's happening on a physical level. Maybe I need a therapist to just to kind of talk some things through, right? Maybe if I'm feeling like I'm feeling heavy every time I come around people, maybe I have to think about this term empath, this concept that I feel everything. Maybe I need to now learn how to filter, and I don't have to accept everything that I feel, because there's a discipline, there's a practice within that. So now I got to figure out the meridians that's happening. How is this energetic flow happening from my toe to the top of my head? Like, what's happening within that? What's happening with my chakras? Is it in balance? Am I grounded? Where's my voice? Is that being allowed to be said? You start hearing those terms and you putting it together with what exactly you're already feeling that you're aware of now because you slowed down. Now you can start looking of, do I need acupuncture? Do I need a massage? Is touch okay with me? Number one. Is it okay for people to touch me? Is touch an act of violence? Is such act just as sexual? Can I understand that touch could also be healing? Those are like big questions that I think we're all starting to ask more frequently and looking for answers and just in different ways. So the wellness team is broad. It's
And
broad.
I celebrate you so much for saying that. I actually just put up in the chat body mind check. So one of our sisters, our mutual sister, actually shout out to Tals. Let me just shout you out. I see you. Thank you very much for putting body mind check in the chat. So I put it up on this platform here.
Hmm.
Through my 5:30 a.m. wake ups, uh, I would say something that's connected to when you said like, oh, let's go to the hair. Like, okay, your hair is slayed, like your edges is tight, right? Your edges is laid, but you got
Baby
headaches.
hair.
Baby hairs is laid, right? But you got headaches.
Got
It's
headaches.
not the follicles that need love. It's
Mhm.
something that's going on either physically, maybe it has to do with your eyes, or maybe it has to do with your breath, maybe it has to do with
You
emotional.
drink water. You're
Right,
constipated.
right,
It's all different things that you now have to. It's never just this. I got to answer for this box check, and that means everything. It's like that check of that box means there's a bunch of different little points now you have to look at.
right. And so I would say, getting up at that time in the morning, I said, I'm trying to slay on the inside
Yeah.
so that I can slay on the outside. Because you can't be walking around all glammed up and inside, you jacked up. And for those people who are within, let's say, I'll say the wellness community, and those people who know that the true, I guess the true telltale sign of how you're doing is if you look at your intestines. Child, that's a whole word right there.
Well, yeah. If you look at your intestinal tract and see what's staying in and what's not going out, what you're
Woo.
within your gut, that is, it's not really serving you, based. And then on top of that, you're putting more stuff in that's getting blocked in, and so you have like this dead energy that is, you're trying to fuel your live energy, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's one aspect of being able to look at what's happening in your life, is what's happening. What are you releasing? What's coming out when, after you finish eating or whatever, drinking, what's coming out of your body and what's staying in that, and how long does it like some relationships, you meet, it's like boom boom boom, you are fed, you are energized, boom, we're done, everything is good. And in some relationship, you taste it tastes good, you eating whatever, and then it's like it's just with you, and you're like, I really wish we could break up, but we can't.
It's
You
like
just
heartburn. It's like,
right. You just here, right?
woo.
And those are the things, like when you start thinking of digestion, how does that mirror what's happening in your world? But then also thinking about relationships, right? So relationships that feed you are just as important as the food that you eat that feeds you. And so, if we think of our intestinal tract, if that relationship that you're in is not feeding you and nourishing you, and if you're not nourishing it, which it means is constant attention, you're left with some things that it's not going to be working for you. It used to taste good. It was a good in the beginning, but now it's in a space where it's just kind of stagnant. And that could wear on your wellness. That could take you to a space where you're just like, ugh, I'm doing everything, right? You wake up early. Like my best time to catch me to have a great conversation with me is anywhere between 5 and 7 o'clock. I'm either walking to the gym or I'm
That's right.
getting my, yeah, I'm doing something. I'm in the house, I'm stretching or I'm cooking or I'm just sitting taking a bath, but it's usually the quietest time of the day.
Wait, and can I tell you that I'm blessed when I see your phone number show up on my phone and it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning? I'm like,
You probably one of 5 people who say they're blessed. Everybody else cusses me out like this is ridiculous. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm just leaving this message. Don't listen now. Don't listen now.
I'm always like, oh, 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 wow, what she's gonna tell me? I got people be like, girl, I'm tired, right? I'm sleeping.
I feel like that's the like by the time we get to like 8 or 9 o'clock, I'm just like, okay, I'm home. Like there's so much more other things that I want to do other than engage in putting out too much energy. It's I do a lot of it's time for me because of how blessed I am, the amount of children that I have, the kind of community that I have, the businesses that I have, the opportunities to engage with people. It means that a lot of time has to be poured into fortifying me, not just getting me strong enough to do it, but that overflow. Like it's a lot that goes into that. And I think if we don't do that, if we don't have the team, there's people in my team who remind me to eat, which sounds insane that you need someone to tell you to eat, right? But if you're caught up into whatever you're doing, I can't rely on my own discipline. I'm inconsistent as heck. I am.
We've been trying to work with you.
I
Sis,
mean,
we've been trying to work with you.
work with yourself because we all in here, juggling so many different things that you're consistent in one day, in 1 month or so, focus on this, right? But then all of a sudden your kid needs something, and all of a sudden your mom needs something, and all of a sudden, the job is something. And so it's not that we're going, oh, I'm just being, I don't care about it, right? It's how many directions can you be turned in to hold up what is necessary. So you have to have support. You have to have
Right.
stand and walk in and go. I'm like, nah. It's like, all right, we're getting some food here, right? Water. Like my staff is big on Khadijah. Did you drink water? Right? Because I'm big on. Hey, did you get a massage? Did you? It's like we have to work with each other to be able to support each other, and that's what your wellness team looks like. Who's supporting you to be able to stand to show up in your overflow? That's your team.
And I'll say this one more thing, and I'm so proud that we have people watching in a lot of different spaces, and I'm really, really blessed. So thank you so much to a couple of people shared on. Thank you, I saw you. So shared. That's why I'm putting you on blast. Cassim shared. Some other people share. We have people on my personal business and YouTube, the YouTube University. So this will live on ad infinitum.
Ah,
I say, but given permission, let's talk about permission just for a moment. And people who are watching, wherever you're watching, and if you're watching live on the replay, this just moment is going to be about permission. And this is a moment where I'm going to pull back, I guess the covers, if you will, or pull back like the curtain.
oh Lord.
I know it's not, but permission.
Okay, you broke up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's you. There we go.
And we're back.
Uh, uh, I love it.
Listen, we just gonna finish up. How about that? So I was talking about giving permission, and we can sort of wrap up on this. I know that I had worked on giving myself permission, giving myself permission to feel, giving myself permission to take a nap, giving myself permission to, uh, God forbid, if I need to take that, what is sometimes called the mental health day, to do that. I've been raised with, as long as you're not laid up in the hospital, you better get to work, you better show up,
Mm-hmm.
go to that job, that quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
that government job. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, I recognize that there was a historical context with that of, you need to make sure that you provide for your family. You need to make sure that you do certain things. But it has put a lot of people, and I'll just speak for myself as a Black woman, into this like rut of, is there time for me? Is there
Right.
time that I can take a vacation? Is there time? Some families have vacations built into their lives. Mine didn't necessarily have that. And so I'm always like, wow, you guys go on vacation, not like you're going to do work and do this thing, or are you going to like a convention? It's like
Mm-hmm.
vacation. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of nice. So I literally am trying to build that into my family, into my practice. But given permission, some people feel like it's a tough thing. Oh, I can really do that without feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
That's my little transparency. So I know that I do a lot of things at one time. And when people are like, oh, well, when is your day of rest? I don't know. That's when I come over to Khadijah and be like, hey, can we have tea? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's real. It's real. So permission, I think, is a big opportunity now, and especially since we've been at home, or a number of people have been at home by default, that it's like, wow, I can, and some people like, I can be more productive
If I eat
without
my
the.
food. So
Good.
what is your question? I'm
Oh,
trying to follow this question.
right. I'm sorry. No, we were like with a little glitch. So the permission is, I know that when people come to get a massage, to get Reiki, they're giving themselves permission to go outside of, let's say, what they were raised with, again, PCP, OBGYN, dentist, that they're expanding their opportunities with permission to go and get extra people or extra services to help them feel better.
Right. So the question is not so much can we give ourselves permission, because we can. We give ourselves permission to do a lot of nice things for ourselves. We get our nails done, we get our hair done, we go to Atlantic City, we travel, we go to church, we have drinks with friends, we eat really good food. We do permission, like we do. We give ourselves permission to do things that are very accessible.
Hmm.
I think what we don't do is allow ourselves to even think that we can access things that are a little bit more difficult, right? And so the challenge of putting yourself first to take care of yourselves, the challenge is not actually doing that. The challenge is getting past the thought process that you're selfish when you take care of yourself, when you do for yourself. And any of those things that you spoke about, whether it's Reiki, whether it's massage or acupuncture, or you go on a retreat, or you read a book, or you eat first, like you eat first, right? You take care of yourself before you even prep a meal. You schedule in the time where you are able to be taking care of you, and then everyone else in the family won't be hungry because they'll be scheduled in a time that makes sense as well. But that sounds selfish. Or if you sleep when you're tired, like you go, you know what, I there's some things that I put on my schedule. And I said, yes, I'm going to come to that event, but I am so tired. And so then I go there and I'm yawning, I'm rubbing my eyes, I'm talking to people, I'm straining, trying to remember it. And I go home and I said, that was a great time. It was not. It was not a great time. I mean, it was good to
So
see people, but it was not. It wasn't great. I was tired, right?
shout out to the nap ministry. The
Right.
nap ministry is real.
And when you lay down and my mom, when we were kids, it would be Saturday morning. So Saturday morning sounded like a disco party and house cleaning at the same time. And it's like we stayed up all night trying to look at hot tracks. And yes, I said it right, but we're tired because I'm trying to catch a new edition, right? And then I wake up in the morning and my mom is like, it's Saturday, and she didn't believe in sleeping late on a Saturday. It was like we didn't get laundry done, go to the grocery store, we don't do this. And she used to say, you'll sleep when you're dead. I'm like, what? I gotta wait till I die.
Look, those people who are familiar with that term, I need y'all to drop that in the chat. Drop it in the chat because if you are around the age that Khadijah and I, we at the, let's just say we at the golden age.
I am
Every
51.
age is the golden.
And then 51, because I look back and I'm like, mommy, to the reality is I'm not lazy. I'm just tired. I went to school every day, did my homework, came home, dealt with the stressors of whatever elementary and middle school and high school came with. And I needed a moment. And so to give myself the permission meant I had to unlink myself from that truth that I always constantly had to be working. And and also I always needed to know what I was doing. Once I let go of that part, I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing.
Wait, what do you mean you always needed to know what you were doing?
To do things perfectly, you need to know the beginning, the middle, and the end. And if you don't have those three components, then it's not perfect, right? And so we decide that in order for us to do anything in our lives, it had to be perfect. And so you wouldn't do it because I don't know the beginning, the middle, and the end. So when I realized I don't know those things, all I had to do is show. Then I didn't have to do the rest of trying to perfect.
I love it. See,
Permission comes with letting go of some of the truths that you grew up with that worked or didn't work, but it's not working for you. To say that you're going to invest we're doing a retreat April 29th to May 1st in Holmesville, Pennsylvania. The link is in like all our bios for Instagram and Facebook. But it's really about thinking about who heals the healer, right? And whoever the healer is, whether you have a title or letters behind your name, you show up for somebody in this world. You show up for a lot of somebodies in this world. And so the idea to be able to pour back into yourself, to get massages, to be in the woods, to get facials, to do imbongies, to talk about the things that, are just been weighing on you, that you can write it down and burn them, and create a ceremony around upliftment for yourself. That is such a hard sell because people are like, I need to give myself, I could do that. I can do for me. But if it was your mother or your father or your children, you would do everything in your power to make sure that they were okay. We got to do the same for ourselves. We got to give ourselves permission to heal our own selves, to give ourselves time to rest and to sleep and to say no and to say I love you, but I'm not going to show up. Not I'm sorry, I'm not going to show up. I'm just not going to show up to that particular event in the middle of the week because I can't. It's going to ruin everything in me tomorrow. But I'm celebrating you. I'm celebrating whatever you're doing. I'm
I'm over
fully
here.
right. I'm doing all those things, but I gotta go home and I gotta go to sleep.
Yep.
And that has to be enough. You have to allow yourself to give permission to not guilt yourself into, oh my God, I didn't go. I'm a bad friend. I'm not a bad friend. I'm just tired. And I don't want to be tired. Because when I'm tired, that's when I get sick.
And again, I think that the topic or the essence of permission and sort of not always saying, okay, I'll do this when I don't really want to, or being somewhere where you really would rather not, but the obligation because of your title, your position, your connection is like, well, you really should. But if my insides is saying, I really just want to take a nap, is that okay?
But you start thinking about these terminologies of title and so forth. I don't have any title. I have no position. I'm not anybody. But what I am is loved by people who love me, right?
Mhm.
And when I move from that space and I'm honest in that space, then I have to say, there's some things that I can't. I'm one me. I'm one me. I have 5 children by birth and a host of other children who look to me for guidance and for me to be okay, right? And sometimes they show up in their adult stages of like, I need help now. And so I
Where
can't be
you at?
burned out. Right. Like I can't be burned out because I need to call on myself. My immediate family needs to call on myself. If I kept saying yes to everything, then I don't have anything to pour into this core group, which was the original reason why I was doing anything that I was doing, to make sure that I was okay, to make sure my family was okay, and then my community. But I think prestige, this idea of title, and you did these things, so now you like you have to go, or I have to go to this. I'm not going nowhere. I just I really don't. I don't gotta go nowhere. There's a lot of things I miss. A lot of things I look up on Instagram and Facebook. I'm like, oh man, that happened. Wow, it looked like it was great. I missed it. I missed it completely. I didn't know about it until the next day, and it was running through my news feed. It was all, but also work and children and self and exercise and parent and all those things. Like those things were happening too. So cut yourself some slack. Give yourself permission to cut yourself some slack. You ain't got to show up to everything. You're not that important. You just not.
So let us all remind ourselves, as they say in job culture, in office culture, that the day that you don't show up permanently, the next day somebody gonna be in your seat.
It's okay. It
It
is.
will go on. The party will go on.
Because if my position is based on me showing up every day, and then one day I don't show up and somebody else get the position, well, God bless you, because I clearly wanted to leave that place a long time ago, right? And I'm going to go do something else. That if I work, like I work with um Dr. Tony Lewis, right, who
That's
is,
great.
yeah, Dr. Tony is like mentor, sister, homegirl forever, right? And she taught me something about being a wellness practitioner. It's like I can't be burned out talking about let me come massage you. Like we in how we build things out or how we create things, there's space for the therapist to rest. We just had a conversation with one of our therapists, and she was like, look, it was back to back to back. You know, I saw a client here. I saw I didn't have enough space and time to gather myself. That is like immediate attention. Like
Wow.
you can't be burned out. You can't, not because of anything that I'm booking. That's a conversation that when it happens, we have to now go, okay, well, how do we fix this? And it doesn't happen immediately, but it's like your attention is on it. Like we can't be in a space where we're just going and going. And so Dr. Tony taught me that. It's like if you're giving, then you have to be compensated. You have to have space to eat. You have space to rest, to think, to schedule those into to what you're doing, and being like having staff, having team, knowing that their physical and emotional experience is just as important as their performative experience.
So let it be known, if you do not know who we're talking to, this is Khadijah Tudor of the Life Wellness BK. And what you just said is so pivotal.
Mm-hmm.
It's so pivotal because just the phrase, who heals the healer,
Who heals the healers? Yeah.
that you show up, it doesn't have to be that, like you say, we were talking about being an empath and how an empath, takes all of this stuff in and they can feel it as if they were walking in the character's shoes. They were living in the character's shoes. But then at some point, that empath or that healer needs to sort of step away, come out from amongst them, be
Filter.
separate,
Filter.
filter,
Yeah.
and let some of it go and don't show up in all spaces. Incredible. Incredible is the word. Oh my gosh, I feel like we've gotten like 30 different words here. If
Well,
people, if you see these, uh-huh.
one thing about permission, right? And so permission to me is it forces you to mind your business. In order for you to give yourself permission for yourself to do the things that's needed for you. You have to mind the business that's keeping you alive. Mind the business that worries you. And so you can look into it and go, well, what is that? I was like, just today, in a very personal thing, there was a health challenge that was happening with one of my sons. And, I was really like anxious about it. And this is like around 6:30, anxious about, what we needed to do, how we're going to maneuver. And I was like, oh, you pray. You remember you pray? Like you a prayer. Like, can you go and handle your business? Right. And it took away just that act of understanding that I'm not alone, that there's a higher spirit it is definitely overlooking and intertwining and is every part of our lives. It took that anxiousness away because I had an act to do. But had I
Mm-hmm.
not given myself permission to mind my business, I wouldn't have found that very simple solution that's always been in my toolkit. And so I just prayed and got other people to pray who were on it. And it's the end of the day, and how I started the day this morning was one of anxiousness, and now I'm speaking to you like, yeah, give yourself permission. Before this morning, I was like, there's no permission. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Calm down. Pray. Take stock of yourself. Figure out where you are. And that is minding your business. Mind that business, you'll get permission to do a lot of things.
I love it. I love it. Folks, I need for you to make sure that you've done a couple of things. I need for you to make sure, if you're not following or you do not know who Khadijah is, you do not know who Khadijah and Ade are of Life Wellness BK, please make sure that you follow them on all, I guess, well, major platforms. So Instagram, Facebook. You have Facebook
Yeah, we
for
have
Life
Facebook
Wellness.
the center. I have a beautiful podcast called Khadijah Hands, well, Conversations with Khadijah, and that's on all platforms,
Love it.
iTunes and so forth. And then we also have Khadijah Hands Project, which is like the life swell of all of it. That a lot of these things come out, life wellness, and being able to support my sisters, Black Girl Soul and Botanical Life and Style. We just opened up on Tompkins Avenue, so it's just like a lot of opportunities to keep supporting other women, women helping women to stand and be present and be successful entrepreneurs, but also give themselves permission to take care of themselves. Yeah, you prayed really hard to get to this spot. You can't just willy-nilly it and not take care of it. Like, we prayed to be here today. Whatever today looks like, there was some point in your life you were like, oh God, please, if I could only, right? So here you are, and you can't just be like, throwing it over yourself like, I don't need to drink water. Like, what? Drink some water. You just prayed to be alive. What are you doing? So yeah, real simple things.
And it sounds simple, it is simple. And what I'm recognizing is there's a lot of complications that get wrapped up into the simplicity of it. I was talking to one of my students today,
Hmm.
today, yesterday. And one of my students said, oh, Miss Larry, my stomach hurts. And, I usually ask the same, like, two questions, like, what did you eat? And when last did you go to the bathroom? I mean, it's just life. And he's like, he answered the question, and I said, drink water. And he's looking at me like, no, I told you my stomach hurt. I said, so let me explain something. I said, whatever is in your stomach that's hurting, the water is going to help. Now, this is an analogy for life, if y'all don't know. There's something that's in there that is trying to get out, and it's sending a message to the other parts of your body, letting you know that there's something that's not right. Drinking water will push and fill up that thing that's there that's not working right, and ask it and help it to move. So I need you to drink the water. So he drinks half the bottle of the water. He comes back and he's like, but it's still hurting.
I know.
Go
Drink some
back, drink the other half. And he's like, Miss Larry, I said, just drink the water. Contact his family, let him know,
job.
have a conversation. I said,
You're
just give it a
doing
little
good.
bit. Just give it a little bit, right? I said, just go to the bathroom. He comes back. It's still hurting. I said, just give it a little while. I must have turned around and did something. 2 minutes later, Miss Larry, I feel better.
You went to the
Okay,
bathroom.
what happened? Right. Well, I said, listen, sweetheart, no matter how you're feeling, it's gonna come out one way. It's either
Hmm.
gonna come out one way or the other. He's just like, I don't believe you. Comes back and I said, so how you feel now? I feel much better. Like as if it's like an epiphany. I
It's
feel
like you
better.
said, it worked. Yeah. Hmm.
Sometimes people make it so complicated.
It's not that people will make it complicated. It's life is making like you just said drink water, right? That's it. That was your one marketing tool for the day. But what past his eyes from the time he was born to the time that he's speaking to you is commercial and advertising and all the things that dictate to do everything opposite than the simple. The simple is go to sleep at a certain time and get some rest. The simple is don't abuse your body with anything, not food, not sex, not anything. Anything that is too imbalanced is going to take you out, right? Right, exactly. The simple thing is to make sure that you do what is good for you, not just what feels good, but what is good for you, which means that you have to think. You have to have
Right,
discernment, right? You have to slow down a bit. And that isn't what is shown on every television show, every live streaming, every TikTok, every whatever is the complete opposite. So it's not so much that, we could say, oh, it's so simple and people aren't doing it. People have to undo a marketing plan that is way more progressive than just the simple terminology of drink water. They
yep.
have to do so much, and it's me too. That's why sometimes I'm like, I'm growing great, and all of a sudden I'm like, why haven't I worked out in 2 months? And I love working out. I don't understand. It's like, oh yeah, life. There was a different distraction that was marketed stronger for me. So
Mhm. And so I'll sort of just start to wrap up by talking about a person that I was speaking to last night here on the digital couch, and those people who come, I thank you and for the support and for showing up. And that is Dr. LaFrancis Rogers Rose, who, let me just repeat, is the founder of the Association of Black Sociologists, like
mm-hmm.
of
caught, I caught
America.
a bit of that. Yeah, I caught a bit of that. That was powerful.
Phenomenal.
Hmm.
And with her, and she's the queen is going to be an octogenarian in a couple weeks.
Wow.
Still going strong, still like sharp as a tack, still can fire him off. And we could talk about, the theory. And she said it. She's like, you could talk about the theories, and you could talk about, frameworks, and you could talk about theorems and postulates and all that kind of stuff in sociology. And she said, as you would hear your grandmother, but there's one general rule. She said, your mother, and you have to listen to her say it because you could hear all of the aunties and grandmothers in your head.
Right.
Because there's one general rule: treat people right. And
Love
just the way she said it, it like slapped you. It like slapped you. Like, just treat people right. She goes, I
it.
don't care what kind of degrees you got. I don't care what kind of rooms you sit in. I don't care how much money you have, what's in your bank, what's in your garage, whatever. Treat people right. And then I was just like, okay. Like, that's
And that's not an easy thing to do. You may think you're treating people right. I had an experience this weekend where I'm literally trying to figure out how to get in touch with someone to go, I may have overlooked something. And now in retrospect, I just want to apologize to say, I don't even know the person. It was just an experience that when I walked away and I recapped the day, I was like, oh, I didn't like how that went. Right. And it's a young person. So now I'm like digging through trying to figure out how I can find this person. It wasn't anything rude or anything, but it was me not respecting that person's agency.
Okay.
I don't want anyone to walk away in life thinking that that's okay. I know they were upset, and in the heat of all the things that was happening, and I had to focus on this and focus on that. When I look back on it, it's like I don't think I would have liked to have been on the receiving end of that experience.
Got it.
And I like to treat people right. I pride myself in trying to do that. But the big part is to be able to look up and go, let me check. Did I? Oh, okay. I didn't. Okay, let me go back. If you get a chance, let me go back. Or let me do better the next time with another person. If I can't go back, learn from the lesson. I love that. Treat people right. That's
That's
work. That's a lot of work. And it's good work. It's
right,
good.
right, right. And
Mhm.
so to sort of bring this home in treating people right, you can't treat others right until you treat yourself right.
Ashe.
Aseo. And who is the person that can show up best for you?
That's right.
You.
That's right.
You. So who is your wellness team? The first thing that you said, I'm thinking like, who are all these external people? Is it like, the Reiki specialist? Is it the massage therapist? Is it the acupuncturist? Is it the whatever? Child, look right there. Look,
That's right.
look right there. Look right. Is
Mhm.
you.
That's it. You got all the answers. You got all the questions. You're the one who has to give the permission. You get the final conversation. Somebody tells you drink water and you don't want to. Can't force you. You're it. You're the boss.
You
So,
show up in your skin
mhm,
24. Oh, I love this. I'm just feeling it. You show up in your skin 24 hours a day. If you
listen.
go ask somebody else what's wrong, go look in the mirror. Ask
I mean, there,
yourself.
there are definitely, I don't want to make it lighthearted. There's definitely
Right.
professional people who are gonna get into the deep science of it, but you have to. And I don't. I'm not even saying it in a nice way. I'm not saying I'm inviting you to look inward. I'm like, nah. You want to survive this road? You better know you. You better know what hurts and what doesn't hurt, so you don't start thinking that what is painful is normal. You got to denormalize like get over like the pain, any kind of pain. Like you didn't pass through the canal of life to just stay in pain. Like your body did a whole lot to get through to get into this world, passing through your mom's birth canal. Both of y'all were teetering on life and death. You don't gotta come into this world and then go, okay, let me live in pain again. Like, no, let's if it hurts, examine it and see how you can change that. You can't eradicate all of it, but some of it could go if you pay attention. Yeah.
And two things that are just popping in my mind that I want to say before we end. So one of our brothers in the work, shout out to Dr. Bashara, Dr.
Yes.
Bashara Wilson. All
Sent,
right.
took some herbs over to one of my sons. So that's my wellness team taking care of my baby. You better know it.
Listen, he showed up and I had to take some herbs because, my regular medical team was like, drink some juice. But I'm very blessed, honored, and thankful that my extended wellness team showed up. But one thing he said when I went to my first acupuncture session with him, he goes, well, you have to go through a consultation. I said, okay, not a problem. And he gives me this document that's like 5 pages long. And I said,
What's this?
and I was blown away because
Mhm.
he goes, all of my patients before I work on them or work with them need to fill this thing out. And I'm thinking, oh, it's like a one pager. But there must have been about, no joke, maybe about 300 little things that I had to like look at, check off, and whatever.
all they all are part of the why behind what's happening. When we
Right.
walk to a doctor's office and you just get a quick scan, they take your vitals. You don't really know me. You don't know when my last menstrual cycle was and what it was like. You don't know what time I'm sleeping or why I get up in the middle of the night or what I'm craving. You don't know if I feel cold. All those things have something to do with your balance, your process, and that's why the intake forms are so god awful long. But they do play a part in understanding the whole picture. And that's why we say holistic health, right? It's the whole picture that we're trying to get a snapshot of, not a little corner of a snapshot. And you
Right.
know the information, you know what's happening with you.
And I thought that it was so powerful because I literally said to him, and this must have been, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or so. I
Hmm.
remember him saying, no, I remember saying, my PCP doesn't even ask some of these questions.
How could they? How much time do they have to do that?
So I thought that was really powerful. And that's when I started waking up a little more and saying, wait a minute. If this person who's about to, now, of course, acupuncture, they're going to be sticking little needles, in your body. But the fact that he took me through that and he said, listen, the consult, you fill this out. He goes, I think initially there was like an hour consult. Then you fill this document out, which took me like 2 days. And then I go back for another 2-hour consult. And then we do the work. I said,
Mhm.
wow, this is powerful.
And I
It's
think
so
that's
go
the
ahead.
thing. It's like the powerfulness of information that's shared, right? And so when we went to this went to the doctor with one of my sons, Ade was there, and myself was there. I was there, and I didn't really want to go into the room, right? And so I said, Ade said, "Do you want me to go, or you gonna go?" I was like, "Well, you go, right?" And the reason why we needed someone else to go with my son was that he was already emotional and upset about what his
Mm,
situation was, right? And so you need, when you go and see a doctor, you need a second person who can be there to hear and to also ask the questions, like know your information. And that ability is, it allows for a more broader understanding of what's happening. When someone comes into Life Wellness, or they, go to any of the amazing healers and acupuncturists that are in our community, these are questions that we're asking. We're looking at your tongue, we're looking at your eyes, we're looking, because it's like
yep.
those are real experiences that you yourself may not even be aware of, that all that information is needed to get context clues to what's actually happening. Like there, that's it. It's the more clues you have, the more you can go, oh, okay, right. Let's go this direction, as opposed
Right.
to, here's this broad stroke, take this aspirin and call me in the morning. Nobody really says that anymore, I hope. But that's this broad stroke of something.
Oh.
I hope. This was so good.
Right. I know. Oh my gosh. And of course, it could go on for hours and hours, but we are going to at least take a break for this time. So thank you so much. Again, there are so many people who are watching this on, I'm looking at the different platforms that are
I
popping
know
up.
you can tell. This is so amazing. This is like, I'm gonna say, people are here.
There's a number of, there are people on YouTube, personal and business platforms on Facebook.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So I do want to just say, those people who are still here, thank you so much for coming. You can actually still, as I say, drop questions in the chat, and then Khadijah and or I will be able to respond to them. It is on YouTube and Facebook, and so in those respective places, if you have not already been an official subscriber, of course, please subscribe. We would love it. But please make sure that you visit, especially if you're in Brooklyn, or you can get to Brooklyn, go over to Bed-Stuy and go to Tompkins Avenue between Putnam and Jefferson and stop into Life Wellness. When you get on the block, you're going to hear music, and then you're going to smell these beautiful botanicals that are just, I want to say, not imbibe, what's the word? The fragrance is just flowing from like down the block, and you're going to be like, ooh, I got to go there. Yes, you do.
You do.
You got to go inside. You just have to step in the door and go,
It's good stuff.
go check out the Koi Koi Pond. Go take a picture of the Koi Koi Pond in the back.
It's so many good things to do. When you check our website, you'll see that we've been, for the last 6 years, very busy, bringing some things to the forward of what we think wellness can feel like. It's not just laying, in a very cold room and someone saying, stick out your tongue, not just laying on a couch somewhere. It's sometimes you just a koi pond, or hug a tree, or see some flowers, or go into the garden house, get some flowers yourself. There's so many ways to feel good. Trying to open up the doors to as many as we can. So thank you, Doriel. This was powerful. As always, I'm so proud of the professionalism and the bigness of your dream, and I appreciate being part of that process. So here we are.
I love you dearly. So, as I say, peace and blessings. This is Doriel Anez Larrier of Larrier's Education and Resource Network, where I plant seeds to help you grow. And this is another episode of the Digital Couch. Yes, this is a special episode. I just had to sneak her in. Now, just so you know, Khadijah and I, when we get together, we have these chats like 2-3 hours long. And it was just like, oh, I just want to ask you a question. 2 hours later, we still talking. The sun has gone down. We sitting in the car. We done burn like half a tank of gas because we're trying to run them. It's a whole lot of stuff. But I love her dearly. I love her dearly. I love her dearly. Melissa from Gibson Tanner says, oh my gosh, I love Khadijah's spot. She goes, she's been there. So she wanted me to make sure you give a shout out. There goes Kitty Cat, who wants to get into the camera. Hey, Kitty.
She's so everything.
But I thank you all. Make sure that you, again, visit Life Wellness BK on all platforms. If you are in the BK area, in the bedside area, go see her, chat with her, just like take in her presence, take in all the stuff that Life Wellness has and the other subsidiary and connected organizations like Black Girl Sew, like uh,
The
what's the
Campbell
other one?
Style. We also are housing and incubating another business called Culture Life by Pasha Cook. Understanding that women helping women to stand and be strong is an amazing thing.
I love Pasha.
And then the whole of the Black Magic Girl Street Avenue Row, all the things that is Tompkins Avenue, because it's
Boulevard.
right, who own Black people who own buildings, who have rented to Black women to have businesses, and it's expanded in such a multitudinous way that it's supported generational experiences for people to look at entrepreneur life, not just for something that is outside of our community, but brown and Black people have been doing it for eons, and we're doing it well, and we're going to continue to do it. This is what makes community strong. This is what community looks like. So that's what we're doing. Come visit us.
Right here, right here. So she'll get the insides right, and I'll help you tell the story about it. Ooh, I like it. So check her out. I will see you all on next Monday where we have our next episode of the Digital Couch. And if you have somebody, I have to pull this little plug in. If you have somebody that you know whose story needs to be told, who needs a moment to, especially if they are a business owner or if they're a leader, if they are an inspirational leader and you think that they should have an opportunity to share their word and their story, slide into my DM, go to Learn to Grow You, either on Facebook, on my website, learntogrowyou.com, or Instagram, and just say, hey, Dorel, do you know who this is? Or I think you really should talk to this person, or this person should talk to you because they need to tell their story. That's what you do here on the Digital Couch, where inspirational leaders influence, impact, and teach people how to live their life better. I wish you well. I will see you all next time.
Yay. We did